All right, let's get on to the main event. Kirsten, I'm going to ask you to pin our guest today. And as she's doing that, I want to just say once again, welcome to those of you who are here live today. Love seeing all of your faces, and welcome to those who are watching the replay. Today, we have 5 members of the Porgreg12 here to talk about the recent verdict in Pig Trial 4. So let me give you just a little bit of background, and then I'm going to let them take it away. On December 7th, 2019, 12 individuals went inside a pig farm in Quebec, and they filmed the horrors that they found. They peacefully sat across from other pigs in gestation crates, asking for the media to be allowed in, and they refused to leave. Instead of letting the media in, the police arrested all of them. A 7-day trial took place in October of 2021, and then the verdict came down a week ago. 11 of them were found guilty of break and enter and obstruction. So here to talk about the verdict and the experience in general, we have members of Porgreg12, Jenny McQueen, Anne Shaughnessy, Natalie Bartosek, Jenny Donovan, and Anne Val. Welcome to you, my fine, brave individuals. Good to see you.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. It's good to be here.
Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Aw, wonderful. And I mean, I'm sure it's just been an exhausting week. I'm sure it's been an exhausting 2 years. Yeah, Natalie, did I get the pronunciation of your last name right?
Great. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. We're fellow red-haired beings. We need to stick together.
Yeah.
Me too. So for those that are not, familiar with this, we're going to sort of start basic, and then we're going to get a little bit more in depth. First of all, who is Porgreg12? From what I understand, we've got a real mix of people, younger, older. For some, this was the first act of civil disobedience. Jenny, you're a member of the AJAer Academy and community. Why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit more about this group.
Yeah, it's such a diverse group, which is great. We have one American, one Toronto gal, which is me. Mainly people from Montreal, I think, yeah, from Ottawa too. And there's a mix of young and older. I'm in the older camp. Yeah, and we all came together. I mean, we didn't know each other. Some of us knew each other, some of us didn't. But we all came united to speak up for animals and to take an action which was risky, but we were aware of the risk. So yeah, and we've since kind of bonded as a group, and we're all in this together really strong.
So just so we have a little bit of a better idea of, sort of where in the world everybody's coming from that's here today. Jenny, we here in the community know you well, but, Anne V, and you might notice, folks, we've got 2 Annes here, 2 Jennys. It's going to be fun. So I'm going to use last initials. Anne V, where are you coming from in terms of animal advocacy and this? Like, are you an OG? Have you been at it for a long time, or was this pretty new to you?
No, I've been a vegan for about maybe 14 years. I was previously vegetarian, regretfully. And I've been doing activism in Montreal for a few years, I guess. I'm retired. I'm part of the Jenny older people group. And I used to be in education before, so that's who I am. And, I'm trying to fight for animal rights in Montreal as much as I can. I organize also for Montreal Pig Save and for DXC, who are the ones that did the Porgreg action. So that's who I am. Not very simple person, nothing, I'm not a hero or anything like that.
I think a lot of folks here would disagree. So, Anne, thank you. It's so good to have you here. How about Jenny D? Yes. Jenny D, tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I've been, I guess, a vegan for about 10 years, but my sort of activism was slow to follow. I've been working in the animation, 2D animation industry for 20 years, and I've just recently broken out and looking to find ways to use my art as a form of activism at the same time. And so I've been playing around with different kinds of activism. This has been the first act of civil disobedience. there was a small group of us, including Jenny, who participated in the International Pandemic Outreach Day. It was a global action last year, and actually we were on the AJAer around this time last year.
Yes,
And
that's right.
that was we
Yeah,
felt
this is your second time for you, Jenny.
yeah
For a lunchtime live. Yeah.
that was a really incredible experience. And I think the biggest takeaway from that was that we have a very strong uphill battle when it comes to the media representing animal advocacy and the actions that people are doing day in and day out, like all of the save, the direct action. Like, this information mostly gets disseminated by the people involved, and the media has to come on board. And that's been what my takeaway is the biggest challenge.
You're not kidding there. It's something, it's not just grassroots groups that are having that problem. It's bigger organizations as well. And it's a conversation. Actually, our next panel is going to be about that. Our next monthly panel is going to be all about media.
Wonderful.
So Jenny, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for all the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Anne S., how about you? Give us a little bit of background on you.
Well, I actually became vegan in 1984 after I read the book Diet for a New America by John Robbins. Very good book. I still have it to this day, and I've moved many times, and that book always comes with me. I was vegan for about 12 years until I decided with the third child that I couldn't do 2 meals anymore. And back in those days, back in 96, I was vegan from about 84 to 96. 96, I wasn't on Facebook. I don't even know if it existed actually. And there was no support for vegans at all. And I was raising 3 children, working full time, very busy, and excuses. I still remember the day when I had a chili with, cow flesh in it. And it wasn't actually until I started activism again about 5 years ago that I realized, my goodness, there's a lot of vegans out there, and this is where I want to be again. And it started with ITR Labs. I started I started protesting there at ITR Labs in Bay Durfee, and basically I've never turned back. And this is so important, and it's important as we all know. This cannot be, we just cannot hide this under the rug anymore. It has to be out. And I agree with what Jenny just said, Jenny D, about the media we need the media, and they are actually aiding and abetting these very industries. And we must get the media to uncover this. It can't be just a W5 show. It's got to be mainstream how we're treating animals, and then let people decide. Let them make an informed decision. But right now, nobody knows, and they just think, I don't know. I think most people just think the animals are living happy lives, and that's the way it is. But it doesn't. Obviously, we know that's not true. And so that's where I'm at.
Thank you for your journey, and it's good to hear that it's important for people many people have had sort of a roundabout journey of veganism, of animal activism. So wow, you've really committed fully and completely, Anne. So you're committed now anyway, even if you. Thank you. It's so good to have you here, Anne. And Natalie, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. Hello, I'm Natalie. I'm just a normal person who is from Ottawa. I moved to Montreal maybe 13 years ago now, and I work in neurological research, and I became a vegan about 6 years ago now. I started reducing about 10 years ago after I saw Earthlings. I didn't know what it was when I turned it on. I thought it was like a BBC Nature kind of, like David Attenborough kind of thing. I had no idea what I was about to watch, and it changed me for forever. It still took me a long time to get to vegan. I wish it had happened a lot faster, but it is what it is. I'm happy to be here now. I started activism about the same year that I went vegan. And I try to participate in a lot of different types of activism. This was the first time I had ever done anything like this. I had never done any sort of civil disobedience before. I never thought I would find myself breaking the law, but it's so important to be doing that. I participate in other kinds of activism as well. I'm one of the co-founders of the Montreal Anonymous for the Voiceless chapter. I'm also the regional organizer for Canada for AV. I'm helping with NARD, the National Animal Rights Day this year, and I'm organizing the a protest on Canada Hill in July this summer, called Canada Abuses Animals, because
yes. Well, you know, and Natalie, it's so good. I mean, it's just so good to hear that all of you are still, you know, really active and even more sort of committed to, you know, animal advocacy. This could have really scared a lot of people, you know, under the covers, right? But it seems to have fortified you folks. Jenny, well, let's, you know, for those that don't know the famous Jenny McQueen, I call her the disruptor. She always gets embarrassed when I do that. Jenny, give folks a little bit of background on you and leading up to today.
Absolutely. I've been vegan over 25 years before kind of Facebook, internet. I started my animal rights activism in the UK. I was doing protests, didn't get arrested at that point. Then came to Canada in 2000. And I support and volunteer with so many organizations. I just believe in all forms of activism, as long as it's non-violent. I am completely peaceful. I had a respectable job in government for a dozen years. And I was doing activism during that too. I've been arrested many times now. And just recently I was arrested again for Meet the Victims. So I'm facing like 3 different charges for that currently.
Unbelievable.
And just to underscore as well what the others have been saying about media, I've been sending out media releases. I've been getting people who are good writers to send out opinion pieces to the media. And yeah, it's been a real struggle.
Jenny, yeah. Jenny, the moment you retired, you just became this like animal advocacy missile. You know, just like let's get this done, and it's been amazing. So okay, so I want to first of all, for those who don't really know that much about the original action at the pig farm, can you give us? Can somebody just sort of step forward and just give a little description of what went down that day? Who wants to jump in with that?
Well, for myself, I woke up at like 3 in the morning, I think it was, and I put on a biosecurity suit in the dark and thought to myself, what am I doing? You know, this sounds kind of crazy. What have I got myself into? But I'm committed. And so then I walked from my home to this large park in Montreal in my suit and met everybody, and everybody had cars there that we were all going to divide ourselves into. And then it took us an hour to get to the farm. And we sat outside in the dark while a few of us ran towards the sheds to, I guess, sort of scout out and see that the doors were open and everything. We then set up for a group photo, probably the photo people have seen the most of us, where we are underneath the sign in the dark, and we had to put the car's lights on us because it was so dark. So we had to park the car so that the lights could illuminate us. And we took that picture, and then we proceeded to go into the first barn. And as soon as you walk in the door, it's just shocking what you see. It's just these innocent beings just encaged. It's shocking, just right from the first moment to see that. It really is. And then we walked all the way through, and just numerous horrors, a variety of things that you, it's just hard to absorb. And we tried to document as much as we could. We were there for how many hours, ladies? Like 6? I don't know. And then, yeah, and then once we felt like we'd absorbed everything we needed to absorb, we didn't do anything else. We were just there to film what we witnessed, and then we went into the gestation room where there are all these sows locked in cages they can't turn around in, screaming at the top of their lungs. And we decided to line up against the wall and sit down and wait to be arrested. But we did want the media to come in first. So we just waited to be discovered, basically. We sat there and we waited for the farmers to find us. And then eventually they did.
And the reason, Natalie, the reason we waited there is because we couldn't wait where the other rooms were, because we couldn't sit there passively, because there was at least maybe half a foot of excrement on the floor. So that's why we waited in the gestation room, because the rest of the place was unbelievably smelly, and we weren't able to sit down and wait for the police.
Plus we couldn't get internet at that back part. Well, and we wanted to continue to live stream to get the message out. I would have loved if we'd have been arrested in that back area where the feces was just caked up and where it was just like a sludge. I would have loved for the public to have seen that more. People are used to seeing gestation crates. But you know, the horror that we found in the back part was just sickening, absolutely sickening.
I mean, I've seen a lot of, and I've edited a lot of undercover footage in my life, and that farm looked just horrific. In fact, I just want to see if we can show a little bit of video here. Folks, anybody that's sensitive to video, feel free to turn away for a minute. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to play a minute or two of this, maybe not the whole thing, just so people can get a better sense. I'm hoping that there's going to be sound here, but let me know if you're not hearing sound.
Not hearing sound, I don't think.
There's the icon at the bottom right.
I'm just changing the audio to see if I can.
There we go.
Some citizens have occupied an industrial pig breeding facility in Quebec, demanding the right to rescue animals from abuse. Pigs are clever, friendly, and loyal animals who will spend hours playing, lying in the sun, and exploring their surroundings. In modern breeding operations, these outgoing and sensitive animals spend their entire lives in cramped, filthy warehouses.
Are they still being aggressive?
When exposing a crime is treated as committing a crime, you are being ruled by criminals.
Right now, we have 8 police cruisers from the Sûreté de Québec, which is the provincial police here. They are inside negotiating with the activists.
Hysterical movements use direct action and civil disobedience because it is challenging rather than accommodating injustice.
We're not going to stop.
One has a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws.
Ceilings are covered in cobwebs, and like they have to basically eat off of their own filth because that's the way their food's set up. It's like it's shaken from the ceiling and then it falls onto their shit, and they have to eat it off their own shit.
Direct action is absolutely vital to a movement's success because sometimes our system is so corrupt, so violent, and so evil that there's no point in trying to reform it from the inside. We have to use direct action.
All right, folks. Heartbreaking to see, heartbreaking. Anne, Anne S., when you see that, what does it bring up for you?
To be honest, I mean, I could just bawl my eyes out now, but every time I see it, I still, it's like I'm right back there. And the only thing that I am happy about is that there are no more pigs there. So the farm is closed, and I'm not sure why the farm is closed, but I'm happy that there are no more pigs living in totally miserable existence in that place anymore. I think it's something that everybody should experience if they're not sure. You know, if animals are treated well on farms, I think I welcome farmers to open up their farms, especially the pig farms. They're all brutal, but especially the pig farms. I'd really love to, I really would love the farmers to have open houses. I would love to see that, but they never will, right?
And it kind of, you know, you get some farmers saying, oh, we treat our animals well. And, you know, I think that they're all the cow farmers, and they're basically the cow farmers, you know, and they can say that, yeah, our animals are out on the fields. And I'd love all the cow farmers to go inside a pig farm or a chicken farm where they're all in crates and cages. I mean, we're not about better welfare. We're all about abolition. But even so, you know, people need to see this.
Yeah, there are different levels of egregious. It's all animal abuse, but there's definitely different levels of it. So, folks, how prepared were you to be arrested that day? And honestly, were you all pretty prepared to be arrested?
Yes. I mean, we went in there knowing that that was the plan, basically. We were not considering leaving at any point before they were going to arrest us, because also a trial is a very large part of what we were looking to achieve, is to actually play the videos that we took in this place in a court of law for the people there. And we got to do that. I think one of the first few days, they played some of the videos that I had taken. And I found it fascinating, and it felt good to watch, to see the judge have to watch those videos, and the prosecution and the farmer himself, and really see it through our eyes.
Wow, so
He's
powerful.
every day, but it's like he's so desensitized to what he's actually looking at. Maybe it's different to see it in a court of law, you know.
But, you know, as well, I think from a legal standpoint, we would have left if media would have come in. And if the politicians would have agreed to our demands.
Oh, definitely. We made a request to see the minister of Quebec. The map, we have a MAPAC, which is the ministère that agriculture that is supposed to go there and inspect these farms. And we requested that the minister come and see. Jenny actually spoke to them and said, "Can you send the minister here, and can you please bring media here so they can see what's going on?" So that was our whole point, is to communicate to the world what's going on in our farms in Quebec, because we also have in Quebec kind of a bland, a funny idea that our farms are impeccable. The farms here do a lot of publicity. They have a lot of beautiful pictures of happy pigs everywhere, and people, I think, honestly, don't realize what goes on farms. That's why we did our action in Quebec. We want to show people that everything is not okay. And we can't rely on the MAPAC, and we can't, how do whistleblowers enter a place we're not allowed entering? So the pigs are almost kidnapped into this area where nobody could go see what's going on. The MAPAC, which is the inspectors for Quebec, they're supposed to go in and inspect, but if there's no whistleblowing, how does the MAPAC know what's going on in the farms?
Yeah, they don't regularly go there to check. They hadn't been there for many years when they went after our action.
So so the ministry went to the farm after your action, like a week after, and what did their report find?
Their report found that the pigs were the stalls were not cleaned. There was an official report by the MAPAC that says their stalls were not clean, and the pigs were crowded into the stalls together. And I think there's a third thing. I can't remember. Anybody remember?
Yeah, they were outdated. They were supposed to have slats in the bottom to help the waste
evacuate.
But I mean, there are so many things about pig farming or farming in general that are just abusive, and they're legal.
Apparently, yes, exactly.
They can say, "Oh, well, it's not clean enough," but there's still animals in cages that are waiting to be sent to a gas chamber. I mean, where is the ethicality of that? Is ethicality a word? Ethicalness?
We're making it. Yes, it is.
The whole system is abhorrent, and that's personally why I'm part of this, and I have, no regrets about being part of this. I'm proud to be part of this and stand with these women and have gone into this place, and I will never regret it. And this is going to end someday, and we have to be on the right side of history when it happens. We have to do our best until
the problem with what we saw in there is that it's hidden, and it's deliberately hidden. And they tell people, well, why don't you just complain to the MAPAC? Use the legal means to show what is going on. But the problem is we can't enter without permission from the farmers. And when we went to court, the farmer and the veterinarian that was in charge of this farm told us this is normal. Even with the pictures we have shown and everything, like those pictures are abhorrent, and they're saying that it is a normal business-like way to work.
Yeah, so the vet said on the stand, I see no animal abuse.
Yeah, it's a standard, it's a basic.
Look at that and not see animal abuse, right? He's conditioned
Also,
it's insane.
He also said that the profits and the interests of the farmer come before animal welfare. A veterinarian said that.
Oh, I didn't even remember that.
Like, what does that say about who is speaking for the animals? Who's speaking for the animals? No one.
I think without talking too much about the case, again, just because we're still in the process of figuring out what the next steps are, the takeaway was that we were charged with B&E because we could have maybe just taken the footage and left. But I think as our modern culture, we are consumers of media. We are exposed to images, to videos all the time. So to be displaying and showing very disturbing video footage can be effective, but we're also a bit numb to it. I think people just look at it and they feel something and then they go on to the next thing. We needed the media to come there, because even my own experience, when I went in there, when I went past the gestation area into what I considered a real dungeon, where ammonia is rampant, the place is snowing with all kinds of particles, that I felt physically panicked, sick, and claustrophobic. And that does not come through in video, in pictures. And that's why we needed the media to come there. And it was crucial that they experience that firsthand. Because I think it's so easy to be consumed, or we're so used to consuming videos and images and whatever, that we're missing that very important element of taking in what it's physically like to be there. It is completely different.
Absolutely. And there's a really good point about that as well. The guy had to basically fly in immigrant workers to work in this hellhole. Mm-hmm. And imagine working there. I mean, it surely, their health is affected, their mental stability is affected just by having to work there. So expecting humans to work in those awful, awful conditions is a crime too. I mean, Ministry of Labour should be all over that.
Absolutely. So let's talk about a little bit more integrate, a little more closely around the verdict, okay? Because there was the break and enter, and there wasn't mischief. So tell us, is there quite a significance, do you think, to the fact that you weren't charged with mischief?
Well, there was mischief, but they tried to find us guilty of mischief in one of four ways: that we had put water in a generator, that we had played with the thermostats and left doors open, that we had let out a boar out of his cage. We, of course, did not do any of those things. The fourth one was, of course, harder to counter, and it was just the fact that we were there in the space disrupting. And that did not allow the farmer to enjoy his property, to carry out his daily activities as normal. So in that way, they found that mischievous. And because of that, with B&E, you need to be able to prove that a criminal offense was intended to happen or happened after we were on the premises, once we entered and were on the premises. In order for B&E to hold up, you need to have intent to commit a crime thereafter. So they said that that was the crime, that we were there to disrupt, and that was mischievous. And so that's why B&E was upheld. But the mischief charge doesn't stand on its own. It's absolved into the B&E, basically.
I
So
see.
it's
Okay.
only,
Oh, well,
did I get that right?
it's a bit technical, but the B&E, to prove B&E, you have to prove mischief, but mischief wasn't a separate charge with us. You have to prove that something was broken, you know, like a real, you can walk into somewhere and nothing is broken, and you can walk out again and it's not a B&E. It would be like a trespass charge. So we
didn't break anything.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said, no, we didn't break anything, but it just because we had, in their eyes, committed a crime on the premises, that's why they upheld the B&E.
And I think what Natalie said is completely right. And I found it fascinating that the judge said that the witness testimony from the farmer was, you know, was valuable and reliable. And yet he didn't believe all the accusations from them. He said, no, we were there to care for the animals. We were there to fight for legislative change. And we were animal rights activists. There's no way we would harm the animals. So all the counts of mischief that they tried to put against us were actually dismissed.
Yeah, and they really stacked it against you. I mean, those were just some pretty outrageous things that the farmer accused you of. So are you a little baffled around the fact, like, I mean, was there a hope going into this, like, you know, Malcolm Klimovich's trial that you'd get acquitted, or and then when you sort of heard the judge say, he also said in response to the video that he found it poignant, disturbing, and impactful. So all of that considered, it sounds like you had a judge who got it on some level, but then still charged you. What do you make of that?
Anybody else want to go?
Well, we got off on they said we had put gasoline in the in the generator, and we got off on that. And they said we had set the thermometer too low or too high, and it could have harmed the pigs. And the judge said no about that. Then they said that we set a boar loose in the farm, and we got off on that. Because why would we even think about setting a boar loose? And the boar weighs a good, I think, 800 pounds. We would never think of doing that. And opening the doors and the windows to bring in air, we would never do that. We don't want to harm the animals. So the judge said that, you know, in reality, we did not want to harm the animals. He understood that we were animal rights activists, and we did not want to harm the animals. But he gave us a guilty verdict on the fact that we had gone in. It was like on like we were sitting there and we were waiting for the police to come in, which is, you know, like a right to silence. And that was seen as, obstruction of the police. And the fact that we had stopped the pig farmer from feeding the pigs for about 2 hours, that was also, something that we should not have done. We stopped the farmer from, enjoying his, but like again, but again, it's really difficult to understand how this came through, because it's only 2 hours. That, if I don't feed my dogs for 2 hours, I'm guessing my dogs will be fine. That they have been fed the night before.
So we told him not to feed the pigs once we were there. The police actually said to him, well, just don't do anything. So it wasn't really our fault, per se, because the police had in the end told him not to.
Yeah, you weren't stopping him from feeding the pigs.
Taking the shovel and
That's right. So can I ask, with the trial, 7 days, lots of stuff going on. What were some of the sort of biggest surprises or takeaways from the trial for you that you can share? I know, I'm not sure what you're able to share and what you're not able to share, but what let's go through for each of you. Jenny, what really, Jenny D, what really sort of stood out to you about the trial? A surprise or something that really stood out to you?
Well, I don't know if anybody else felt this, but I think I noticed visibly a transition among our legal team. Like, I know that there were some members of the legal team that were already sympathetic to the cause, but I think the draw to be involved in this case is beyond the ethics of it. I think there's sort of a vested interest as to why this might be a game-changing case. But what I did see is that I think they began to sort of understand why we're doing this. Like, it's not just some, dismissive action by people that are maybe overly sensitive. There was a real connection. I think there was one lawyer who ended up quoting Martin Luther King quote, and you could tell that it was starting to sink in. And for me, that was really encouraging that, this defense team was there to do their job. But I think that it was actually getting into their hearts in some way. And I think that really was touching for me. And just, again, the solidarity, like, we don't see each other very often, but when we came together for the case, we realized that we're one solid group that wanted to do this, regardless of our backgrounds, regardless of our connections. We all came together for this one thing, and we all believe it's important. So those, I think, were the two biggest things that I came away with during the trial.
Yeah, that must have been such a bonding experience, like kind of going into battle together, right? So, and so it's great to know that there wasn't infighting, and that, people from all sorts of different backgrounds can come together and keep the common cause, in view.
By the way, in case anyone watching is wondering why there's only 11 of us, one of us, she is having her own trial because she was a minor during the action. She was 15, and she's amazing, and she is just as much a part of this as anyone else. And we don't want her to be forgotten either.
Oh my goodness, 15 years old and having that experience. Yeah. Anne S., how about you? What was something that really stood out for you about the trial experience?
Well, I'm going to agree with everything that Jenny D said. It was a bonding experience. It was amazing to see the transformation, even in our team of lawyers, and how they really took on this cause over those 7 days. And even in the closing arguments, it was phenomenal. It was like they were worthy of Oscars. They were amazing. But I think what I noticed the most is that the system is completely flawed. The system is completely corrupt, but it's flawed, I would say, more than it is corrupt. Although just because it just feels like this wheel that's churning, and everybody's just following along, and it's also normal, and yet we know it's not normal. But 99% of the population feels this way. So you 1%, you're like, who's your extreme? And so that's, I find that really hard. But the corruption, and just the fact that there's nobody speaking for the animals. That's what my takeaway was. There's literally no one speaking for the animals. You cannot count on the vet who could have easily advised them a pack, that the conditions there were horrific. Nothing, nothing. The farmer obviously is not going to do anything. The workers who work there and who live mostly on site, and who, are not, they're from other countries. They don't know their rights here. They're not going to speak up against their employer.
Survival for them too, right? It's a matter of survival for workers in a lot of the animal ag industry. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Like we were saying before, it's not just animal exploitation, it's human exploitation. But it's just this wheel that just keeps spinning faster and faster and faster. And I don't know, it's just, there's no one speaking for the animals. That's, clearly there's nobody.
Even the police, do you remember what one policeman said when he came in, guys? We were arrested. What that one policeman said when he saw the pigs?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something about bacon or breakfast.
Looks like breakfast.
Yeah.
The policeman said that in front of us, and in front of these gestation crate caged sows who were screaming at the top of their lungs. Yeah.
Okay, I want to ask, I want to bring you some of the questions that are coming up in the chat. Okay, folks, so a little bit of a lightning round of questions here. Well, first of all, John was just asking the lawyers, where did you get them from? Now, if I understand correctly, each of you had your own lawyer, right? And then they kind of had to come together to come up with strategy. Am I correct in that?
Lawyer, but yes.
Yeah, we were connected through a professor in Montreal University, Alain. He connected us with this team of lawyers, and they're top notch. And they represented a few of us, each of them. So there was about 10 lawyers representing us in court. And I sketched, through the trial.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away by our lawyer team and how they, like Gary Martin said, we're dealing with animals, living beings, and that they're not like a vegan animal rights set of lawyers, and yet I think we're turning them.
Okay, Allison is asking, why did you choose that farm to have the direct action?
It could be any farm, like seriously, it could be any farm that we walked into would be that state, I'm sure. Like I've been in two now. I've been convicted for this one, but I also went into one near London, Ontario, and the conditions in there were horrendous too.
And so this was
And
just
of course, there's the case, although the Excelsior 4 trial also going to be happening in BC, and what they saw there was, that was supposed to be in one of the better farms apparently, and it's horrific.
Yeah, that farm was owned by the vice president of the BC Pork Council, and so should be like an upstanding farm and horrible. Yeah.
And isn't he a veterinary too? The owner, wasn't he? I understood he was a vet.
That was that's the animal justice investigation we did at the organic dairy farm in Fraser Valley. That owner was a vet. So yeah. Well, while we're speaking about legal teams, folks are asking, who pays for your legal defense? Have you raised enough money to cover the fees? How does that all work?
We don't know how much this is all going to cost in the end. So we still continue to fundraise, and we don't know. There could be a civil case against us. We've had injunctions to stay away from farms, which has cost us quite a lot of money. We've been fundraising for that. And we don't know the future. So we need to continue fundraising. And, if all goes well and everything's beautiful, then that fundraising money could go to sanctuaries, and we would be, more than thrilled to do that. But we don't know the future, and it can be scary. It's scary.
So in the end, if there's not enough money raised, a lot of this is going to come out of your own personal pockets. Is that correct?
I would think so.
Yeah.
Or we all go bankrupt. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So just by the way, Kirsten dropped in the GoFundMe link. So if anybody is interested in supporting these fine people, and this has been 2 years of their lives, folks. So a few bucks is really not a big sacrifice. So let's keep going with some of the questions here. So much to ask. Everybody's so curious. Charlie's asking, what did the farmers say to you when they found you? Were you frightened?
I think they were more scared of us than we were of them, honestly. Because we were expecting them to find us. They were not expecting to find us there. No, they were not sure what to think of us at all. Yeah.
Well, the farmer was a bit aggressive, Natalie.
That's true. Yeah, the farmer himself when he came in, but I meant the first guy who found us. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a bit aggressive. He was very shocked at us, and he told us, "Look, I treat my pigs well. How dare you come in here? Get out of here." He was really aggressive at the beginning, and then when the police came, then he calmed down a little bit. Honestly. Yeah.
I had forgotten about that, but he actually kicked a pig in the snout as he walked by.
Have it on video.
Yeah, he was not a nice man.
I have a quote from the worker who went to tell his employer, "The vegans are here. There's vegans here."
The vegans are here. Oh my goodness! Wow.
And
sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was just going to say, because this was a contentious issue in the case, but at one point, a boar was let into exactly where we were sitting, and that was the moment where I probably was a bit taken aback and afraid. Like, I can say categorically, we did not release the pig, but the pig was released. I don't know who opened the door and let the pig in, but I felt it was deliberately to intimidate us, because he was a big guy. And in order for him to pass by, we all had to stand up, like there was no room. So that felt deliberate, and it worked. It was intimidating, but he was fine. He was a good pig.
Just a couple of, legal technicalities that folks are asking about. So Holly's asking, would members of the media have been arrested if they entered the facility as well, or do they have special protections?
I'm pretty sure that if they had permission from the farmer and the police to come in, that they would be okay.
Yeah. There's no ag law in Quebec yet.
Right.
And besides, yeah, if they had permission from the farmer, they would be fine. Somebody else was asking, sorry, I just lost it. Okay, I'll go on to something else here. I guess one of the questions we are wondering about now is sentencing. Tell us about sentencing, when it is, and what is sort of, what are you hearing? What are you hearing from the experts? What are you hearing from your law team about sentencing?
Sentencing right now, I'm sorry if I got my good friend here. That's
I know, I'm like, oh, you've got a good protecting friend there.
We've got to go to, our lawyers are meeting on the 6th of May, and they're going to be talking to the lawyers of the prosecution and to the judge about our sentencing and how we go from there. We're not too sure about how this is going to go. Honestly, we're like a little bit very uncertain on how this is going to go. Will we get like no, we're not sure. We could get up to 10 years for this if the prosecution decides that they want 10 years. So we're a little bit hesitant. We're not too sure.
A long time ago that we're not getting any jail time.
What was that, Natalie?
My understanding is that a long time ago we were assured that no one is going to jail. So I think that's still the truth, but
nobody knows for sure. Nobody knows.
Our lawyers told us that. No.
I think it's possible we'll be taken as individuals. So,
yes,
they might look at a little bit of background and stuff. So I think, first time offenders, I think definitely no jail time. And
yeah,
I see the question about an appeal. We are pondering our options. Absolutely.
Yeah, but we need, I guess it's all about the sentence. Is it? If the sentence is light enough, there would be no appeal. If it's harsh, then there would be an appeal. Is that?
Well,
I
think it's important perhaps to make a point about one of the charges of impeding the police. How does that affect people in the future? So we want to get advice about the judgments and how that actually affects people who are speaking up for animals and other social justice movements. We need to make sure that, his judgment doesn't affect people for the future.
Yeah, the only reason they stuck that one to us was because we did not leave when they asked us to. That's the only justification the judge had for keeping the obstruction charge, because he said outright, I know you didn't resist arrest. You didn't help, but you did not resist. So it wasn't a resisting arrest sort of situation. It was just the fact that they said, okay, please leave. And we sat there quietly. That's why, the only reason we got that charge.
And I've had a lawyer say to me, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's not up to you to say, okay, we'll leave right
We were waiting
away.
for our demands. We were waiting for the media, so we weren't ready to leave, but we wanted to be. We were ready to be arrested. At some point. It's not that we were.
You weren't fighting, like there was when you think of obstruction, you think of like somebody's like struggling not to be taken away, right? And you just went, no, thank you. They're like, could you leave now, please? No, thank you. Obstruction.
Even the judge admitted that we walked out. We completely complied, and we walked out. We were peaceful when we were.
Well, I have to say that some of us were passive in our resistance. So personally, I didn't walk out, but I was very passive in my resistance.
Yeah, you were dead weight.
Right, I didn't help.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Apparently, that is not illegal. Apparently,
I didn't know that I was going to do that. I didn't know how I was going to react. But in the end, I really didn't want to leave the pigs, and I found myself just, being a sack of potatoes.
It was beautiful, Jenny.
And Jenny was beautifully vocal, Jenny.
What kind of things was Jenny saying? Give us a little
Oh my
lowdown.
gosh, I don't remember. I think
Animals deserve a bill of
we were
rights.
all outside, but we could hear Jenny hollering from the back.
I was the last one out, and everyone else was like, a few hundred yards away. So I didn't think anyone could hear me, but I was screaming.
We were cheering you on.
Oh, amazing. So I want to ask this, going through this whole arrest and trial process, honestly, would you make the same choices again, or would you choose a different path? Let's just ask, I'll just ask you individually. Annie V.
Personally, I think, I've got a sentencing coming up, and would I do this again? If I knew that I would be found guilty, I regret, that I'm being found guilty, and I regret the whole, I don't know how to say this, but it's sad that I'm found guilty for what I find is like a peaceful protest. That's what I think. It was really, really peaceful. All of us were extremely peaceful. We weren't aggressive, at all. We were sitting there quietly. So it's a little bit sad for me to see that, I'm being found guilty for, will I do this again?
Oh, well, Annie, I'm not going to ask you that because I don't want you to endanger anything. I just want to know if you were to do this, if you went back in time and you were offered, hey, you can be on the inside or you can be on the outside, would you change your mind? Would anybody here change their mind?
No, that's not to say that I will do it again in the future, but do I regret, being part of this? How could I?
I mean, it must have taken up so much time and energy and emotional energy. Like, was it really hard on you folks?
Nothing compared to what the pigs go through. Right.
Yeah. And so, for those of you, and of course, we're an arm of Animal Justice, so we don't encourage breaking the law, but we appreciate all forms of activism that are peaceful. And so, asking for those that are fascinated by this and what you've done, who is a good candidate for this kind of activism journey, and who should probably sit it out? Any sort of advice around that? Jenny, you've been around this block a few times. So what would you say about this?
I think everyone should experience what it's like inside these places. But at the same time, people sometimes tell me that they can't even go to a vigil. And I will say to them, that's fine, be on the outside, be a support team. Being part of a team is incredible, and people can take on so many different roles. They can be our media spokesperson, they can be sitting on the couch, just, writing letters to the editor. They can be holding signs if they don't feel, mentally strong enough to be inside, but you can be part of the team, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I mean, really, I've been, I vaguely said to Jenny, like, hey, if there's a PR person can make all the difference, a really great PR person can make all the difference to something like this, an initiative like this. So you don't need to be on the, to go into the trenches to make a difference. But for those of you that maybe don't have as many responsibilities or children or, things like that, obviously it can be a very powerful form of activism.
Absolutely. And some have, they don't have permanent resident status, so do not do anything like that if that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is,
yeah.
sorry.
No, go for it, Jenny.
I was just going to say, the thing is, we haven't achieved animal liberation as we are right now as activists or people concerned. We haven't achieved it. So by that token, we haven't found the perfect form of activism. And I don't think there is one perfect form of activism. I think it's all about finding out where your strengths are, where your passion is, and finding a space that needs to be explored in terms of how we can be activists. So, and again, I'll reiterate, like even within our 12 or our 11 or 12, we're all very diverse. So it's not like there's a specific profile there that means, oh, you can go and do, more kind of civil disobedience. I think there's just, we're not there yet. So try different things and be creative and find out what speaks to you and follow that. Because we still have a ways to go to figure out what the right dials are to get there.
Absolutely. Everyone needs to decide, where can I most support the movement the best? What are my skills? What's my background, my experience? John was saying one effective way to support activists is to save money. You can donate to legal aid funds, right? And Jenny, you have a particular, knowing that the AJAer community, are skilled animal advocates, you have a particular action that you'd like to ask AJAers for, and that is letters to the editor. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. Letters to the editor are so important. People actually do read them. So I would fire off a letter about the trial, about the sentencing, about the injustice. Canadians are supposed to be kind people. Animal rights is a social justice movement. We wouldn't be convicted if we'd have, reported on a, senior person's home, would we? We'd be applauded as heroes. So make a few comparisons to other social justice movements and write a letter to the editor. It's like the suffragettes. They broke laws, they chained themselves, and yet they're lauded as heroes. So I would love help on media if you're a good writer. Even if you're not a good writer, send something off to your local media.
Well, the more letters they get, even if they don't publish them, alerts them to the fact that this is a concern. And Jenny, one of the other things I'll just add strategically around that is editors are rarely likely to publish letters if it's not in response to one of their own articles. So see if you can find an article about the pig industry or even what's happening with the avian bird flu and tie it in. So that can be a really great way of, find an article in their paper and just, respond to that and say, not only is this happening, but, there's a verdict that just came down that the few people that are trying to help, have gotten charged, sort of thing.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, folks, one more time for that donation link, and our next date to look out for again for the sentencing meeting is what was it again? May 12th?
May 6th.
May 6th. Okay, so not too long, and we'll keep you posted in Animal Justice Academy, of course, folks. Let's take off our spotlight, Kirsten, so we can see everyone in the gallery. Coming back, we reached up to over 70 people live here on our Zoom meeting, and then many more watching on the live stream. So our guests, if you go up to the right-hand corner, go back to gallery view so you can see all of the these folks that are here behind you, because again, it must have felt like a lonely journey at some points. I mean, hey, you had 11 other folks, but now you have many, many more, not just in this community, but in all of the animal advocacy communities around. So let's give them a big AJAer. Thank you for all of their beautiful work, for their bravery and their sacrifice. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the Porgreg12 and our 5 wonderful individuals that came to join us today. Oh, Jenny's taking a picture, folks. Let's give her something to take a picture of. Yes, champions.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay. And folks, I'll just remind you that we have on our next Lunchtime Live in 2 weeks, same place, same time, reaching out to communities of color, growing and an intersectional and diverse animal rights movement with Christopher Soul Eubanks. I hope you will join us for that. And to our Natalie, Jenny, Anne, and Anne, our hearts and love are with you. And we're wishing for just the best outcome with this sentencing, okay?
And a great thank you to you for organizing this, Kim. Like, this is an amazing thing that the AJAer that you've got going here, an amazing community, and you're just an amazing force. So thanks to everyone that's attending and making a difference.
Oh man, you stop it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to all of you in the AJAer community here today, and have a wonderful week. Keep fighting for animals, folks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.